What if I told you that there exists a 600-year-old manuscript, written in a mystifying language that has left experts baffled for centuries? For centuries, its secrets have remained hidden behind an unbroken code. Mentions of it vanish from the records of history, only to re-emerge in the shadows of time. It is known only as the Voynich Manuscript, the most confusing literary puzzle the world has ever seen. In the spring of 1912, the famed book dealer Wilfrid Voynich purchased an old manuscript from the Villa Mondragone outside Rome. Its transparent paper pages were filled with unidentifiable related plant drawings and an alien script. Voynich was unable to decipher its meaning, but knew he held something unique. Word of his discovery spread among unusual circles in America. In 1915, the Jesuit scholar Reverend Herbert Thurston examined it, but was likewise confused. Its mysteries only grew as cryptographers, linguists, and scientists alike failed to crack its code. The manuscript slipped back into obscurity for decades. Through careful investigation, some clues emerged about its earlier history. Analysis dated the vellum pages to the 15th century, placing its creation in medieval Europe. Records showed it changing hands through famous collectors, perhaps spending time in the famed alchemy-focused library of Rudolph II, Holy Roman Emperor. But who caged its enigmatic pages? Theories abound. Was its author a weird genius or member of a secret society guarding forbidden knowledge? The illustrations seem to reference astrology, biology, botany, and more. But to what end? More questions than answers remained as the Voynich manuscript kept its secrets locked away. As the 1920s began, one man became utterly obsessed with solving the manuscript's riddle. His name was William Romain Newbold, and he was convinced it held ancient wisdom that could shake the foundations of science. Newbold spent countless nights analyzing its pages under high magnification lenses. He began to see patterns, what appeared to be an early form of shorthand. But as he rushed to publish his theories, the academic community poured disrespect upon his claims. The Voynich was not so easily tamed. Still, Newbold's work drew others seeking to unravel its mysteries. In the 1930s, the brilliant cryptologist William Friedman analyzed the letter frequencies and styles, but to no use. Then, during World War II, a Polish mathematician named Lionel Strong threw himself into the challenge. He noticed the plants shown seemed to follow a system, yet couldn't piece it together. The decades rolled on as the Voynich continued to defy all who studied it. It seemed this ancient text would never give up its long-held secrets, or so the world thought, until a new clue emerged that would change everything. In 1987, an American scientist named Mary D'Imperio found herself drawn into the Voynich mystery. As an expert in dead languages, she studied over past studies with a sharp eye for details others may have missed. One clue in particular jumped out. Inscriptions suggested an extinct language once spoken by the medieval Cucuteni, a Trypillian culture of Eastern Europe. Could this ancient civilization, masters of the written word, hold the key to deciphering the manuscript? Mary began assembling a team of like-minded academics, reviving global interest in the Voynich. Using cutting-edge linguistic analysis techniques, they started detecting patterns in the letter forms and syntax. Slowly but surely, fragments of meaning began to emerge from the impenetrable text. Word of Mary's promising new leads spread worldwide. In a library vault in Italy, a young scholar named Giovanni Fontana heard whispers of potential breakthroughs. Inspired, he embarked on a quest to locate rare manuscripts that may aid in their work if compared to the Voynich. But his discoveries would lead him down a path more mysterious than he ever imagined. Giovanni began his search in the archives of Florence, examining texts from the medieval period. One aging manuscript, written in an unclear Eastern dialect, caught his eye. Comparing illustrations to those in published Voynich studies, he noticed intriguing parallels. Excited by this potential connection, Giovanni traveled to share his findings with Mary's team in America. But when he arrived, he discovered their work had hit a standstill. Without new samples to compare, the patterns in the Voynich script remained frustratingly theoretical. Giovanni knew what they required: the original manuscript. Returning to Italy, he requested access but was denied by the private owners. Fearless, he embarked on a dangerous journey across Europe, following whispers of similar texts in secret collections. In Bucharest, he at last received word of a treasure of ancient documents recently unearthed. Giovanni hurried to examine them and caught his breath. Could these long-lost writings from the Cucuteni hold the answer? He copied fragments frantically, boarding the next flight to deliver this new evidence. Would Mary and her team see what Giovanni had found? The chase was on to unravel the Voynich's remaining riddles before its mysteries remained sealed for centuries more. The solution was within grasp if they could only decipher the code. Giovanni arrived breathless at Mary's laboratory, clutching his prized discovery. She and the team studied over the fragments through the night, cross-referencing with the Voynich illustrations and text. At last, in the early morning hours, a breakthrough.
Look here.
Mary said with excitement in her eyes.
This character is repeatedly associated with medicinal plants. It matches a symbol in your manuscript. And here, astronomical diagrams that seem to correspond to the seasonal passage in the Voynich.
More connections fell into place as the hours passed. By noon, they had decoded enough to reveal a basic structure and vocabulary. The language was indeed an earlier of Cucuteni Trypillian. But the content defied expectations. It detailed bizarre biological functions and ritual ceremonies, nothing like an herbal or astrological paper. Just then, a wild call came. Giovanni's source in Bucharest had urgent news. They'd unearthed another treasure, with texts resembling the Voynich even closer. He booked the next flight, determined to acquire these priceless manuscripts before they disappeared again into the shadows of history. The stakes were higher than ever to decipher the Voynich's true purpose before Giovanni's return. With each new clue unlocking its mysteries, the solution seemed finally within their grasp. But what darker secrets would the full translation reveal? Days passed in a blur as Mary's team raced the clock. When Giovanni arrived bearing the newly discovered texts, hope and anxiety were high. Comparing the manuscripts line by line, more of the Voynich's cryptic phrases began to make sense. Late one night, Mary gasped. She had translated a passage describing strange rituals involving the nude women. The acts were so inconceivable that she questioned her own work. But checking against the other sources, the horrifying truth solidified. Early the next morning, Mary called the team for an urgent meeting. With a shaky voice, she revealed her chilling conclusion that the Voynich manuscript was not a scientific paper, but something far darker. It detailed the unholy practices of an ancient pagan cult that had once flourished in the shadows of medieval Europe. Before the team could process this revelation, a thunderous boom shook the building. Smoke filled into the lab, and the rare manuscripts were in flames. As firefighters arrived, Giovanni saw a hooded figure fleeing into the night. Someone wanted to destroy all evidence of the cult's existence. The mystery was finally solved, but at what cost? And who would go to such extremes to keep these long-buried secrets hidden? Mary was more determined than ever to reveal the truth. In the aftermath of the fire, Mary and Giovanni worked tirelessly to reconstruct what they could from memory. A paper was published revealing their shocking translation of the Voynich to the world. They received disrespect from some for proposing such an unbelievable secret history. But others saw the pieces fit together. Remote areas where the cult may have thrived, similarities to sorcery symbols found elsewhere. Slowly, the outrageous theory gained supporters. More mysteries emerged too. Who was so desperate to destroy evidence of this cult? Rumors swirled of extremists seeking to rewrite the past. Giovanni began investigating underground groups who claimed to follow the old ways. If any cult remnants still survived in remote areas, the illustrations could draw them out of hiding. Years passed. Mary never stopped believing the truth was out there, if only one knew where to look closely enough. And then one day, an envelope arrived from a small village in Romania.